This is the Bar Steward's Enquiry.
Right? You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
Hello, very warm welcome. Yes, it's the Bar Steward's Enquiry. We're back for the final show of the York Ebor Festival, and we're going to hopefully finish the week off in style. Some tremendous tipping this week on the earlier podcast with some really good insight, particularly from Nick Davis, who specialises in these older handicaps, tipping up the Clipper winner Thunder Run. Some great notes from Andy this week. So that's who we've got on the show to finish it off. So the boys in form, myself, John, Nick and Andy. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
We're covering the 5 television races televised from York tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to mark your cards the same way as we've done throughout the week. And we'll finish the show, as always, with a nice little each way lucky or something like that to get your juices flowing. We'll land one eventually. So, hope it's tomorrow. Right, without further ado, the first at York tomorrow is the Strensall Stakes over a mile and a furlong, and it's the Group 3. See the Fire is currently market leader. See the Stars Fleet at 3-1. Second favourite is Al Yanabi, 7-2 for Owen Burrows. John, I'm going to come to you first for your views on the Strensall.
I think I mentioned to you earlier that the one I keep coming back to here, and it's more in hope than confidence, and that would be Calbert's Flight Plan. I can't have it that it's as bad as it looked on occasions this season. We've had 2 absolute swampings. First time out at Newbury, the lockings behind audience when he got beat 6 wickets. Then there was a bit of a rally round Haydock. Then they took him to Ascot. Again, Group 1 company. He's got beat 6 wickets. And then, could it be another false dawn? Chased Point Liners, who had a fairly soft lead at Ponty last time. I still think there's latent talent there with this horse. You might dig it out by taking the knackers off, to be honest. But I think in this kind of company, he's a tad too big at like 30 plus.
Okay, right. So he's 28's available with a couple of firms out there. 25's General Flight Plan. I'm not sure I totally... The last 2 runs, I get where you're coming from. It's a leap of faith after the last 2 runs, but...
Yeah.
This is the kind of race where the front end just might be a little bit vulnerable. Andy, what's your thoughts here?
I don't know. I looked at the favourite See the Fire, but it's been 20 years since we've had a 3-year-old filly won this. Their last was Red Bloom in 2004. Now,
Right,
I must admit, I didn't go back and count how many 3-year-old fillies we've had running it, but that is quite considerable time. I just wonder about the 3-year-olds. I kept coming back, and it's probably a little bit boring, to Enfjar, who I thought ran a tremendous race last time out against what was probably a bias against him, and he's also won the John Smith's Cup here. And I do like course form at York, as we've seen this week. Horses do go well. You know, if they've gone well there before, they tend to go well there again. I just kept coming back to him. I just think he looks the solid one. He almost looks the sort of, I hate to say it, the sort of thieves each way if they get the 9 in there. And I did like his run last time out. I just thought he was a bit unlucky last time out. It just didn't work out for him. And there's so many races like that at Goodwood that just don't work out. And I kept coming back to him. And the way he won, I suppose the only problem is he's stepping back to a mile. But they should go a decent gallop in this. We've had 11 of the last 14 winners have been 4 or 5-year-olds. So that was certainly the age group I was looking in. I did think the 3-year-olds might just be up a little bit against it. And Al Yanabi and See the Fire, and to a certain extent Task Force, take a fair chunk out of the old market. So I'd have to roll in with Mr. Vegetables and Enfjar.
Very unlucky at Goodwood, really. I was a bit surprised Injun Jim picked Al Yanabi because I think this horse might not be going the right way in that his head was up at Newmarket in the Guineas. The 5th in the St James's Palace was okay. It wasn't spectacular. The 4th last time was more disconcerting because although people say, well, he didn't get the 10, he wouldn't have won at 9 either. I don't understand his price, maybe because Crowley's picked it over Enfjar. So I'm with you on that. My selection for the race would be Phantom Flight, who obviously beat Al Yanabi, Newbury, beat Al Arzi. That form's been franked in spades. Didn't get the 12 last time, so I'm not worried about that. They obviously experiment to see if he get the 12. Good course form here. As you've pointed out, the elder horses seem to have a little bit of an edge, 4 or 5 year olds. And I thought 10 to 1 was a pretty square price. I'd be near a 13 to 2 6 Phantom Flight in this under the Shepherd, who everyone wants to win races now after what the Credleys have done to
I'll tell
him
you
and
what,
the
he's
Stewards.
riding as well, possibly with the exception of Mr. Moore, he's riding as well as anyone at the moment. If you watch racing regularly, they must be stupid, the
Yep,
Gridleys.
agreed. Yeah, well, of course. Everyone knows that Havlin is not better than...
And he's a nice lad as well, Callum, as well. Really nice lad. I've met him a couple of times. Really nice guy.
He was the one as well when they did the Sunday night meetings as a trial. And he was like vehemently critical of it, saying that when do I get to put my feet up? When do I get to walk the dog?
I think he's smarter than the average rider, let's put it that way.
Nick, finish the race off then if you've got an opinion on this.
A couple of things. The 3-year-olds have been very good this week, haven't they? Finished 1, 2, 3 in the Juddmonte, 1, 2 in the Yorkshire Oaks, 1 the Clipper. So I'm just a bit thinking about pace here. Where's the pace coming from? So I would go with, if I'm going to go something, I'm going to go with Task Force. I think his run at Goodwood was he's a decent price. I couldn't have See the Fire, I don't think. Nth Jar has got decent sectionals, 10.88 and a 10.68. He did in a couple of those runs at Goodwood, so he has got the sectionals. But I'd go with Task Force, but nothing really strong because I can't see a lot of pace. Phantom Flight probably makes it.
Yeah, Phantom Flight was up there with El Yanabi. I think Indian Jim will plough forward from trap 9. Just for See the Fire backers, though, and fanciers, if you do like the filly. Not to like in terms of solidity. The 4th in the Eclipse has been franked very, very strongly, with obviously Ghostwriter and City of Troy in the Juddmonte, and of course the second horse, Al Riffer, winning the Von Baden Hoppenheim Group, Grade 1 in Hamburg or somewhere. So the form is pretty up there, and I know what Andy's saying about fillies, etc., field fillies, but there might not be enough data present, because I wouldn't have thought many 3-year-old fillies would have probably had a go at this. So yeah, if you do like See the Fire, there are very strong form cases for it. The one that perplexes me is the Indian Jim choice of Al Yanabi. I'm heavily against that because it wouldn't have beaten Phantom Flight at Newbury over 9 furlongs. So it was headed well below the furlong pulse. So on that footing, a Phantom Flight will probably go handy with Al Yanabi, the same as what happened at Newbury. We move on. 225. It is, of course, the race we all love. This is the Bar Stewards love race. We do love the runners in this. Melrose.
It's Lydia's favourite race as well.
It is. It's a fascinating race, always. Trying to sort out the winner. It's a difficult affair this year. So I'm going to come to... right, Nick first. I know like you're more the older horse Barrow, but have you got something in the Melrose?
First of all, I like Irish Stayers, but these don't seem to be well in here as 3-year-olds. I don't think they're well in. The Balding pair set a good standard. He's chosen Murphy's chosen Wild Waves, he was in the Haydock race where I think everything slipped after Phil slipped up, so you couldn't think. Tactician seems quite exposed, doesn't win, but I've got to come back. It's a Bar Stewards' favourite, reaching high last time. If they get beaten here, it will be due to Luke winning a bit too far, a bit like Samui earlier in the week. But I've got to go with that. It's got so much potential. Even an £11 rise might not stop it.
John, we sort of had a little chat earlier about this race, just to wet the whistle. What's your take with Reaching High? Was that a big mess up, or do you think he can still defy that?
I think now he's got him going the right way. There's every chance he's better than Nami2. He's been a very slow burner, this horse, and Michael sort of run him mainly around tracks that wouldn't entirely suit, but would put an edge on him mentally for like educational purposes. And I think this horse has come on mentally throughout the season and raced in a far more mature manner the last couple of times. I think he's priced about right now. I don't think there's a lot of mileage in the 15 to 2 best price.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if he won it. I wouldn't be falling off the balcony tomorrow.
Take me through some of the runners that's on your radar tomorrow, potentially.
Well, one that I was interested in up until very recently was Two Buses for us, Kevin Philippart de Foy. I've kept a close eye on that one all season. Complete non-jigger last back end, and that one's been brought along with the staying campaign in mind. Still open to improvement. One that I'm really interested in backing tomorrow is Imperial Sovereign of Carl Burks. This one reminds me, Nick will remember this, the old Rebo horses. You couldn't badger them to go any sort of pace early on in a race. And yeah, just like leave them alone and let them find themselves. And then when they did, they'd do the running for you. It reminds me very much of that, as that sort of type. And I think in the Queen's Vase, I thought that was very evident. That's how he ran. He ended up getting in a bit of positional trouble through that. Then he ran on nicely right through the line. Sure, he stays the trip well. I think the knackers off can only be a benefit. He was campaigned like they thought he was a Derby horse at the early part of the season. He ran in the Derby trial at Lingsfield. 98 for me probably underestimates him at this trip. I think there's a bit of value there. The other one I think there's value still is Dramatic Star of the Shirts. 3-1 last time to win the big Haydock Melrose trial, for God's sake. If he hadn't slipped and gone and won it, he'd be on a worse mark and he'd probably be 72-4-1 for this.
Yeah, even shorter after winning, yeah.
No, work that one out. I don't think you can leave that out of calculations at all. That would probably be my shortlist, and as I said, the price is my best player would probably be the Carl Burke one at the minute.
Yeah, I'd say he's slightly below par.
What do you make of Haggis? This do you think he's having very, very quiet this time?
It's a very fair shout, Nick, because if you look this week at York, Willie has sort of had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 runners so far. And obviously, I don't think he's hit the board. He hadn't hit the board with anything this week, which is rather strange.
Did he do much at Goodwood either? I can't remember.
I can't remember that.
Did he?
I can't remember. So, Andy, some interesting comments there so far. You love this race yourself, so
I do. Yes, there's someone who doesn't really like 3-year-old handicaps throughout the year. It's strange that I like this race, probably because it's run over a distance that you could nearly stick a fence in front of them. That's sacrilege, isn't it? Eh? Some of these probably will end up running over hurdles.
Indeed.
I kept coming back to Reaching High. The only thing, as I think as John or Nick said, that, did the worst jockey riding cock it up last time out by winning by about 8 bleeding lengths. But I kept coming back to that. I just think I appreciate John's comments about Sir Michael running him probably at the wrong tracks, isn't he? He just looks as though he's just going to be a better horse. If you look at his breeding, he's a half brother to the Northumberland Plate runner-up evaluation. It just looks as though this trip is going to suit him. I don't think that the Baron was going to be overjoyed by that wide margin winner, but you had to be impressed. I mean, he's a big unit, isn't he? To stroll around Wolverhampton as he did, £11, you wouldn't have been jumping up and down about, but I don't think it was an effort out of the. If you look back through his form, that stacks up pretty well. I couldn't leave him out of calculations. The other one I came back to, nobody's mentioned him yet, is Champagne Prince, ridden by Mr. Shepherd yet again for Jane Chapel-Hyam. I think he's been quite nicely brought along. He's had a very, very sort of quiet beginning into this. I really like the way he travelled at Ascot in what looked a really hot race last time out. If you look at I know you always look at the sectionals, Lee. I think you'd have probably given him an upgrade for his closing 3 furlong sectional last time out.
Yep.
I thought he looked really interesting, Champagne Prince. He's out of a mare who progressed markedly over middle distances in Made Up, and I just think he could be a little bit better. Might just be a little bit of value left.
I just felt this might come a bit soon on him, Andy. If that comeback run had been the 13th of June and not the 13th of July, I'd have really fancied his chance. I just think he's had a rushed prep for this,
Yeah, it could do. I mean, it might have just sort of had their sort of hand forced here, but I did quite like him. The 2 balding horses, I thought it was interesting that Oshin chose Wild Waves, who slipped up in that Dramatic Star race. They both ran in that same race, and they both slipped on the bend there. Dramatic Star, yeah, it looks interesting. I just, as you say, Haggis this year. Well, you know how much we hold him in regard here on the programme, but I don't know, just not quite done it. I didn't think his form was quite as good as some of these. I didn't like the top four. I think I've got too much weight. The bottom three, I think, are probably a little bit outclassed. I just kept coming back to Reaching High would be the main play, and I will have a little bit on Champagne Prince and maybe Wild Waves as well. But they were my sort of three against the field, but very much Reaching High as the top one. I think he's probably, if there is the proverbial group balls in a handicap, he could well be it.
Good stuff. I agree with a lot of what's been said, really. As for playing on the race, I'd have to see the odds probably nearer the off. Imperial Sovereign's very interesting because the Queen's Vase just wasn't his barrow. Ascot's quite tighter than people think, and when you get on the back foot, he was awful on the bend. It was very eye-catching the way he still came home. He's an interesting runner for sure. Tactician, I still think there's more to come in that. I think he ends up a group race stayer, but I think he wants further than 14.
Is a potential cup horse, Lee.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think he's the future 2 mile for...
Taking off his feet a bit here. I know it sounds silly over 1.6 miles, but it is riding pretty quick here.
He's going to be finishing strong. Real strong. So,
do you think he's lazy, Lee?
Obviously, he's behind the bridle, like at certain points in a race, and makes it difficult, like for a jockey to get a suitable position, which isn't ideal. But it's one of them. I always think a Melrose winner has to really stay well. If ever I come into a Melrose and you say, will this horse stay? It's an immediate strikeout. Because if I'm asking the question, I don't think you get away with it in the Melrose. I think you've got to stay. So there is that going for him. He's probably going to be in desperate trouble at some point in the race.
Lee, it's interesting you say that because 25 of the last 33 winners have won over at least 1.5 miles. Make sure you've got something which has proved itself over 1.5 miles.
One that we haven't mentioned is the Equator, who I agree with Andy. I don't think he looks particularly well in. But the blinkers angle is interesting because do you remember that shit house? Denmark, was it?
Oh, yeah.
The first time blinds. And it nearly won, but it shit out.
That was something you said shit house, wasn't it? Triggered me.
Well, shit out. But I could see that running a big race, even though if they're putting blinds on, they think it's not concentrating, and they think so. Obviously, that's your problem. But I can see that running another large race. I'm sorry we're muddying the waters here, and we'd love to. Reaching High, I would say, listening to all of us, Reaching High's got a very positive mention. Andy likes Champagne Prince. Imperial Sovereign, me and John are sort of pretty keen on as an outsider, is the best way we can end that race. But yeah, I think we've done the best we can. It's a tough event this year. We love to get it right. So let's see what happens with our sort of 3 sort of strongest picks in the race. Okay, we move on. 3 o'clock. They've got this by the bollocks of the books. I'll start us off. It's the City of York, of course, who York are brilliantly pushing for Group 1 status with tremendous prize money. How on earth can you have a race that's not Group 1 with 283,550 to the winner? It's phenomenal. It's not a sales race. I think it's tremendous what York are trying to do. And I think they deserve the 7 furlong Group 1. He certainly deserves it. Audience, 1108. That was my choice, 3-1, anti-Purst. That was the best bet because of the wind conditions and how the pace has been holding up. Kinross is now into the price. I thought it would be about 3-1. It was like 9-2 anti-Purst. I know Jack, who's not on the show, loves Lake Forest of the shirts and he's pleased it's in. I think it's between the top 2 with no absolute value for us to get stuck into. John?
Tricky race if you're looking for value because I think it's pretty much set where you'd expect it to be. I don't know anybody that wouldn't have audience favourite now. Maybe after the lockings, everybody's sort of thinking, that was a fluke. But the second win kind of proved to everybody that, well, it wasn't a fluke. He is this good at this trip. They've got it to do to beat him, in all fairness, for me. He sits handy, he tracks out power. what's going to come and get him, really. You know, I mean, he's rated 124. Lake Forest rated 111. That's a fair old whack to be making up.
Let's not forget, Kinross beat Audience in this last year. However, circumstances and the wind's still blowing a little bit, not as strong as it has been this week, but it is sort of just slightly behind them.
I don't think Kinross looked the same day this year.
He's not quite as good. I don't think he's lost a lot. I think the way it panned out for him last time, I think you can draw a line through it. He's a lot better than that, and he'll be a lot closer to Audience tomorrow. But the betting is absolutely spot on. Andy, views?
Can't really add much to what you've already said. I must admit, when I listened to the anti-post show, I think the Audience was 3-1 there.
3-1, yeah.
Like in a trade as I do, I managed to get a couple of £100 on him and can trade that out quite comfortably now and basically be green on the whole field. So
John Ketley weather forecast for you, Andy.
It was, yeah.
Where you get the hurricane wrong.
Yeah, with a bit of wind form and stuff like that. I mean, if he gets away off the front, I mean, it's very hard to see what else. I know Jack likes Lake Forest. He's in a good position, and he's actually got one to run, hasn't he, this time?
Yeah.
Agus hasn't done him yet.
Andy, would you be worried about the form of Agus this week at York?
I've just actually had a quick look at his numbers this year, and it's 81 winners from 417 runners prior to today. I think he's had a winner today. He certainly hasn't. So, and he's just about on par, basically. If you take these, the winners above expected or whatever figure you want to take, is 0.38 positive. You'd have backed him all his runners this year, you'd have losing 42 points. I know he's had better years than that. Just going back, I try and check what he did at Goodwood because you were talking about that as well. I don't remember him having the bigger meetings. I don't remember him having too much say in them this year, and as he's one of our sort of favourites, he hasn't really done any much.
I think he's done a Charlie Johnson, hasn't he?
I don't think he's not quite as bad as that, is he? What did he have? The approval one at Goodwood, didn't it?
That was it, I think.
Al Arcey one at Goodwood.
Oh.
And that was about it, as you say, John. So didn't have that many runners there, just looking at it. They all ran reasonably well, but wasn't anything there. He's had Realign ran well today, didn't it? That's his. That was second to that nice horse, Angelo Buonarroti. So he's had a few, but I suppose he's just he's not hitting it out of the park, is he? Like he normally is. I think that's probably where we are. So, Audience would be the one for me. I mean, I thought they almost gave it the race at Goodwood, certainly, and it just surprised them at Newbury the time before. So I should presume that Mr. Havlin will ride him the same way and be catch me if you can once he goes past Art Power.
Good stuff, Andy. Coming to you, Nick, view on the City of York to finish the race off. What are your views?
Well, if you told me at the start of the season, Audience and Sharon would be rated the best oldest 7 furlong mile horses, I'd have probably laughed at you. But we are what we are. Audience's 2 wins have both been a bit sort of, Goodwood was very iffy, and so was the Lockinge. What do the jockeys do, though? There isn't a lot of. I mean, you have to hold Lake Forest and should have been a ring up. Art Power's going to go forward. You ride Kinross a bit further, but it's a gin and pate race for me. Really, I won't be playing it at all.
Me neither. I mean, obviously, when we did the anti-purse show, the 3-1 Audience stood out 11.08. Now it doesn't at all. In fact, if someone pressed me tomorrow, right, these are the prices. What are you doing? I might back Kinross at 3s. I might do. But then I'd be desperate for a bet, I think, because I'm not really keen at the current market prices. Sad for us Saturday players, but of course, if you're a Patreon member, you've listened to the Anti-Purse show and you've got the prices. Anyway, the 335 is the Ebor, a glorified group. Though having said that, I was surprised to see Forza Auto get in this race, given his rating. I think that's incredible.
It only just filled this year.
Wow.
Only just.
And obviously Alfred Boucher's been pulled out, so we're down to 21.
The last two on the card are about, there's a £9 gap between Iron Lion and Iron Guy, and then you got one for the gutter 90, Forza always 86. So 20 of them within a range, and then the last two you got a £5 drop off, then a £4 drop off.
Right, who do we start with? Nick, I'm going to start with you here. You like your older aged handicaps, and I'm certain that you've possibly got an Irish angle. You like your Irish stayers.
My angle here is right. Let's go through a couple of things. Aidan O'Brien has had many older handicap winners, has he? I can remember having a couple of in here and everything. But why is Queenstown 13-2? If you forgive last time with Yashin, 13-2 versus 25 and 33-1 on their runnings behind Kyprios.
Totally agree.
There shouldn't be that much. Yeah, shouldn't be that much between them.
Yeah,
Absolutely shouldn't be.
And if you watch that Navan race back, Nick, and I'll obviously give you the dance floor like when I've said, I don't think they were that hard on Yashin that day. It was his reappearance, and they just sort of hands and heels. They weren't really bothered, and he's better off in the weights. Anyway, carry on.
You can forgive the Newcastle run. I mean, he might not have taken the all-weather. You don't know what went wrong. They've done its wind. Last year, very, very good run. Got cut off by Dettori about the 3 furlong marker. The one thing he didn't quicken that much, but he kept on. But with the first wind up, you don't know what it's going. At the prices, now, Yashin 33-1. Home team, I think, even off top weight, Relentless Voyager will run well. He prefers him to the progressive one, Fairbanks. Chillingham run well in this last year. It's a type that will probably each way thing, but no, I'm going to go for Yashin at the prices.
Brilliant selection at the prices. I think you have found one of the remaining value pieces left, so we'll come round to other contributors. Andy?
Well, you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I've been keen on this horse for absolutely ages. Epic Poet. I think he's got a decent draw here. I'll give you some draw stats in a minute. It's a 3-time winner in France up to listed level. It's just every single run this year he's improved. They've given him 2 runs round here over trips, which I don't think have been far enough. The one trip I do think it was far enough was the 12 furlong trip at Ascot, where he ran a really good second on the outside all the way. And he's got a really good draw. 11 of the last 15 winners have been drawn 15 plus. There's been 2 winners since 2004 that have come from single figures. Unfortunately, some of the other ones that I do sort of fancy were on my shortlist are drawn 1, 2, and 3. But I do think Epic Poet, I think he's been almost laid out for this. You only have to go back and watch the 5th in the John Smiths. Another furlong or so, he would have won that. I still think he's on a decent mark, about 100. That's sort of very much within the sort of sweet spot for these sorts of things. And I must say, well, admit it, I mean, everyone knows I backed him ages ago at 16s and 20s, so probably putting him up at around 8s or 9s now is not the smartest thing, but I still think he's the best, one of the best handicapped horses in the race. The other interesting ones for me would be obviously the one that John mentioned on the anti-post show, the Willie Mullins horse, Hip Hop de Loire, who was a considerably bigger price then. Unfortunately, he's been drawn in stall 2. And then Burdett Row, which I know John is pretty keen on as well. You could make a case for him being very well handicapped for the aforementioned Gredleys. And the other one would be Magical Zoe, who's got some very interesting form, even on the back on the flat. But she's drawn in stall 1, which I'm not sure is going to be a hell of a lot of use. I probably will play those 3 to small stakes, but Epic Poet, I'm all over him.
Good stuff, mate. So coming on to John then. John, you're sat comfortable with your 25s on the old Bill Mullins runner, Hip Hop de Loire.
33s, actually.
Extra trumpet there.
There's going to be some trumpets on this show, isn't there?
Yeah.
I've also got a fair old price on Burdett Road, and I'm not disappointed if Epic Poet wins either. One of those 3 will win. I'm not really concerned. No, it's my Ebor to lose.
Well, if me and John don't win this, we're going to be throwing ourselves off the balcony.
My Ebor to lose. That's a quote. My Ebor. I love it. I absolutely love that quote. I'm in the Davis camp, really, with Yashin. If you watch the Ebor last year, Absurd, the winner, cut right across it at an absolute crucial moment. It was a length behind Absurd, and Absurd just chopped it up like a chopped herring on ciabatta
nice.
bread. Yeah, but
The
like one of
choppy
them.
thing.
Yeah, the choppy thing. He still kept going, and he was going right through the line again. And I'm thinking, if you had got chopped off at that point, you wouldn't have beat Absurd, but you would have been probably somewhere on heels. The wind up is probably possibly a positive. Nick's right, very right to say that 33s, 28s in places. Little bit of value still. I was disappointed to see Kievar cut from 50s to 25s. Clearly a tipping line, that one, because the arses fell straight out of that one. He's not a well handicapped horse. He just loves York. He runs his best race at York. It was a fine effort earlier in the season here when second to Crystal Delight. He's massively better off in the weights. And because of his love for York, I don't think he's ever run a bad race. The only bad race he's ever run at York is over the John Smith's distance. Take that out, he's not been beaten far in anything. He wasn't beaten far in the Melrose. Tough cookie is Kievar. My two would have been Kievar when it was 50s. Sadly, it's not, so it's not. So I'm with Davis, with Yashin, and I agree about the Burdick Road, Hip Hop de Loire, and Epic Poet comments. You've all had the prices, you Vernon.
I was running the shops in my little blue
Yes,
car.
terrible this. Absolutely terrible behaviour from all of you. So that's the Ebor summed up. I think we've done a good job covering that. And to finish, it gets easier, folks. The 410 is the sprint handicap, 6 furlong handicap. No one's allowed to tip Summergand. You're all bores. Right, John, I'll start you off. Summergand might be a foghorn here, will it? Will it be?
Well, that ran up last time out for Summergand after the Great St Wilfrid. I think it's in last week's notes.
Yeah.
Said this was not run to suit. This track does not suit. Go to jail for this next Saturday at York.
Go to jail.
So there it is.
Do not pass go until you put your
And
200
he's drawn 6. He's got a shame on. What the fuck isn't there to like? 9-1, help yourself.
There you go. You've heard it there. That's the first one for that one. Just covering off what I read a note of Andy's on Billy Joe saying that he needs a good test at this sort of trip. And I don't think this is Billy Joe's track, Andy.
It's not his draw either.
Yeah, 15 as well.
Don't really fancy track 15, no.
Where are you going on this, Andy?
I got one that ties in with Summerhand in Comanche Falls.
Yeah.
Top weight. Now, he was second to Summerhand of 109, if you think back to the Gold Cup, or the Air Gold Cup in 2022.
Yeah.
Now, he's seen the backside of Summerhand a few times, but his rating has meant he's had to run in sort of group listed company most of the time. He hasn't run in handicap company for absolute ages. He's got loads of experience in this. I think he's nicely drawn in one. Put the blinkers on first time. I think he's one that I would certainly want to keep on side here. I was impressed with, and a hat tip to Nick here, with Dare to Hope, Ripon Great St Wilfrid winner last week. He's drawn nicely in 3, going for a quick backup. I think you've got to certainly take a look at him from 3. And one that you might want to throw in, he's drawn 14, but it's sort of factored into the price. He's Dark 30. Go back and watch his run in the Stewards Cup last time out.
Yeah, it didn't look off.
I mean, did Sean Levy move?
No, it didn't.
I know he's probably 14's not a great draw, but I just thought he was just massively overpriced. I saw 33s and prices like that. I just thought he was one that he might be able to run. You know, there have been horses run into the frame from those high draws that we've had there. So I'll toss in Dare to Hope and Comanche Falls as the main 2. And I will be having a little bit on the Dark 30 just at a price.
I'll come in now, and I want Nick to have the final say, because this is Nick's sort of kind of barrow, shall we say. Comanche Falls, for some reason, Paddy Power and Bet Victor have just gone 14-1 Comanche Falls, which is quite astonishing because...
Hang on a minute.
yeah, exactly. Get it going.
I can't bet with either, so...
Yeah, that's the problem. But anyway, I think this is the first handicap he's actually contesting since yesteryear. He's been in just group and listed company and contesting all sorts of brilliant races. Blinds for the first time. It's never really a negative here at York. You just get out and roll under the Beasley. That's just like incredible. Summergand, I agree with John in terms of how well handicapped he is. I came down on a couple, though, of Cover Up and Two Tribes, both well drawn. Both should get a nice tour into the race because I expect Comanche Falls to blast out. Cover Up will be sat very handy for Rab, and I think that's still capable of winning a race like this at 10-1. Two Tribes just hasn't had things fall for him, and I think he's a better 6 furlong horse than he is 5 furlongs. And the drop-in trip didn't suit last time, and I thought he ran perfectly well through the line. So both 10-1 shots would be where I'm at. And opposed Billy Joe, that's not going to go off anywhere near Fav. That'll probably go off 12-14 on the machine. Hopeless. Nick Davis, you have the final say, though, because we bow to you on this kind of race.
Will they ride Comanche Falls really forward this time from one? I'm just wondering about it.
I think with the blinds, it's the usual tactic.
Yeah, I know. Again, the only problem with Sunrain I've got, I don't think there's going to be a massive pace like there was. I can see Apollo 1 going very close.
Yeah, that.
If ever a horse deserves to win a race, it's going to be in the clear. And every horse deserves to win a race this season is Apollo 1. He's knocks on the door of everything. No, I'm not messy. I mean, the Air Gold Cup winner's in here, but I'll tell that on Patreon later sometime.
Yeah.
If it hasn't got its ground. And I'm expecting it to finish 7th or 6th tomorrow and then win the Air Gold Cup. But that's a teaser for you.
Patreon subscribe.
I think Apollo 1 will give you a race, but I haven't got massive opinion. I don't know where, as I say, Comanche Falls and the blinds might burst out, he might not. I wouldn't be wanting to draw. Apollo 1's the cut-off. I wouldn't be drawn above him, and he'll probably come out and turn left towards the rail.
So, Nick, what is your selection? Apollo 1?
Apollo 1.
8-1 Paddy's Hills for Nick. If you like, Nick's in very strong form recently. Just to finish on this, chaps, are we saying, because jockeys are creatures of habit as well, and ITV's been banging on it all day about the draw bias, are we going to see the straight track race all migrate towards far side and middle?
Do you remember what happened last year, though, on ground? This sprint race was won on the near side. They all come near side in the E-bar. Are they going to do the nasty? Are they going to have a selective watering tonight?
I'd never trust tracks, but what I would say is, even if they have selective watering, with the wind blowing, right, from sort of left to right, if you look at York down the straight, in other words, towards the stands, it was Tom Stanley that actually made a point. I didn't consider it, and I usually do. With the wind blowing and the watering system in place, the wind's all blowing the watering towards the stand side. Because that's how it works. You can't stop the wind, like blowing the rain sideways. Maybe that's why we've got a particular draw bias this week. So I'm not so sure. I think the jocks today and owners, trainers, be watching the ITV coverage, rambling on about the bias. I just think they'll migrate, not saying bang on that far rail, but they'll be centre to far side. John, are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I'd still want to be drawn with, far side.
Yeah.
I still want to go that side. It's been that way all week, and to be honest with you, I know what you're saying about watering. I probably trust York more than I trust any track.
Yeah, they're good
to get it right.
That's obviously a tricky position we're in. We'll see what the morning says, the stick, and we'll see what the clerk says on interview. It's all to play for.
Compared to Yorkley, they do give out a lot of information about what they've done, what they've watered, where they've watered, etc. etc. They are very, very good. Unlike some tracks at Newbury, I can mention the other week. Well, we've watered. How much have you put on? Yeah. No answer.
Yeah, with no going stick or thirst. Yeah. I don't have even a going stick.
Stuck up the clerk's arse or something. Yeah.
That it's one of them. Maybe punters, if you're listening, look in the morning, take in the information. There's no rush to jump on prices because sometimes you might think you're on a good bet the night before, but then things might transpire differently as new information comes out in the morning. We just have to react to it. So to finish the show, let's pick out an each way lucky 15. I need to be first because I've only really got one bet I really like a lot on the Saturday, and it is Phantom Flight in the opener. So I'm requesting to you guys, please let me have it.
You can have it.
At 10-1 each way to start the each way lucky off. Phantom Flight in the opener. Go. That's my best bet. So John next.
Carl Burke's in the Melrose.
Carl Burke's in the Melrose for Jonas, which is Imperial Sovereign, which is available at 14, 16s in a place at the moment for John as a left fielder for a race we all like to back the winner in. Andy.
Well, I'll have to go in the Ebor, won't I?
Yep.
You know where I'm going. Then I don't even have to say Epic Poet.
Epic Poet 8-1
Epic
general
Poet,
for
yeah.
Andy, already done. So that goes the Barsters lucky. Nick to
Oh, thanks, lads. You've left.
Yeah, but you've had 2 winners on pack,
Yeah.
so we're making it harder for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Apollo 1.
Apollo 1 in the sprint. What an each
Yeah.
way lucky that is. Get the places and all. If you've got Sky Bet accounts, you get about 47 places. Do that each way luckies all day long.
I can't tell you how many places you can get because my odds
They're
check
doing
is packed up for the day.
8 blobs on the Eber.
8 blobs, there you go. Looking at 8 blobs.
Actually, on that odds checking though, if you go on the ATR site, they do a very good odds grid. In fact, it's better than the odds checker one, and it's far more up to date, and it's free. There you go.
Right. Another top tip. We've saved you 20 quid on race cars this week at York with the digital downloads if you're shrewd. And now we're giving you the ATR new betting grid tips. Fuck odds checker. We've had a fantastic week at York, and it's our home venue, and we're pleased to have at least hit it in form, and hopefully we can round off in style. Hope you enjoyed it, and we're back on Sunday as usual, talking more absolute crap, which of course you also enjoy that as well for some strange reason. It's in totally shit. Bye for now.